Testing, motherfucking testing. Is this thing on? Alright, I just flew back into town from 5 straight days of partying, so I am recovering just a little bit, and I'm having to film and edit this episode all in the same day. I'm working on a tight deadline because tonight there will be football. I made a little video with my boy while we were out there, and I gotta save on some production time tonight, fellas. So, enjoy Nashville.
I will never quit drinking. I will never quit drinking. I will always make sure that I can keep my body healthy enough so that I can always drink. I love seeing a sunrise with a cocktail, seeing a sunset with a cocktail, having friends walk into your house with a bottle of wine, getting on a plane. Can I get you something? Double Jack on the rocks, lots of rocks. I love the moment someone says, hey, we should get a drink, and you're not supposed to. That feeling, it's like a first kiss. You don't get that first kisses when you're married. You get to have those first drinks. At a brunch, someone goes, should we do mimosas? And then the waiter goes, actually, we have bottomless mimosas. And you're like, this is gonna be the best day ever.
Dude, you just hyped me the fuck up. You just hyped me up, bro. That was like a locker room speech.
Yeah.
It was pretty inspirational.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Preseason league ratings top 5. Let's fucking get it. But first, this is the 4th and final preseason episode before we get into the real football. And that means for the first time, I have a Thursday night preview for you guys. With the over-under at 52.5, it's set to be a pretty high-scoring game against two teams that were good at the end of last season. The line has the Chiefs at 5.5 favorites, which is actually bouncing back from 4.5, which swung earlier at the news of Travis Kelce missing this game. Now, the fact that it swung back to 5.5 so fast kind of shows that it might have been a little bit of a trap. I know somebody who took that line, Donnie. Honestly, it could be kind of a close game. I still have the Chiefs winning, but overall, I'd say let's just hope this game hits the over and we can watch some explosive plays. Not from Jahmyr Gibbs. Besides Jahmyr Gibbs, the fantastic Lions rookie running back, who I have the pleasure of playing against. The other league mates who have players in this game are Donnie, who has both Amon-Ra and Jared Goff starting. Got a high stake in this game. Eric has Patrick Mahomes, and Henson is the one that had to bite the bullet and sit Kelce for the week. League reminders this week, pay your league dues. The deadline is tonight. If you haven't done so, I'll be texting everyone as a reminder. I'm not going to waste any more time on any other shit. Let's get right into the top 5. It's time to hurt some egos. Number 5. With one podium finish at second place overall and 100% playoff appearance rate and one first round bye, this player probably would have landed higher on the list had he not only been in the league for the last 2 years, and you may be figuring it out by now, but it's Donnie, the hard-working Cincinnati, Ohio native, don't you know. Let's take a look at what he's working with this year. So, as I mentioned before, he has Jared Goff starting this week, but also Dak Prescott and Anthony Richardson on his bench. So 3 quarterbacks right now. Khalil Herbert, Rachaad White, 2 decent mid-range-ish kind of running backs. Ja'Marr Chase, which is obviously the namesake of his team, went with Marface. I still think he could have gone with Chase the Magic Dragon, but I still give him credit. Amon-Ra, Zay Flowers, George Pickens, and Jameson Williams will be backing up Ja'Marr Chase in his wide receiver room, with TJ Hawkinson and Tyler Higbee, which he's desperately trying to pawn off to everybody, as his 2 tight ends. And then on the bench for running backs, Samaje Perine, Zach Charbonnet, and Tyler Algier. Overall, I give him a pretty good rank. I'd say that his team is decent. He might need a little bit of better depth at running back, but that's what happens when you invest early and often in the wide receivers. I think he'll be all right, though. He doesn't need me to tell him what to do with his fantasy team, and neither do the next 4 guys on this list, all of which have at least 3 podium finishes. Next up, at number 4, one of the biggest OGs of the league, as in he motivated me to create this whole thing, and also is a central point for the reason why a lot of us know each other. He's kind of like the glue that you used to use when you were in kindergarten, you know, the glue sticks. How come I don't ever see adults using glue sticks? He is and always does great as a second half superstar. Starts off kind of slow and always comes back, probably wins 4 in a row before the season ends, and usually makes it into playoffs. He has 3 second place podium finishes, 1 first round bye, and this year he's known as the Stasher because he has Alvin Kamara, who's suspended, Kareem Hunt, who entering the first game of the season does not have a team to play for, and Jonathan Taylor, who's in the middle of a contract dispute mixed with an injury. And I'm laughing at it now, and they're probably all going to go off in the last 6 games. And since we're basically co-founders, we have the biggest historical rivalry in this league. I play this man in week 4 and week 13 every year. And every year it's a fucking slugfest. We remember the scores. We bring it up to each other for the rest of the year. If one of us wins both games in one season, it's bragging rights until the next season. We're not friends on Sunday morning when we play each other. You better not text me, Raul, because I know the only reason is because you're going to rub it in. Going by the moniker of Yak Valley Brewing this year, my man's is coming in hot with Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs stack. And Saquon Barkley to pair it up. Ken Walker, a good backup running back. And then we got Michael Thomas starting this week with Chig Okonkwo at tight end and Brandon Ayuk in the flex. He has Zeke Elliott. Oh, another probably second half investment. This man has a strategy. Deonta Foreman, Damian Harris, the aforementioned Kareem Hunt, Jonathan Taylor, Alvin Kamara, and Juju Smith-Schuster, another Patriot, and Zach Moss. He also has Philadelphia, which is going to help him score a lot of points this year. And I honestly just wish that I didn't look at that squad because I might be fucked in week 4. Next up, at number 3, I honestly wish that I didn't have to rank myself in these fucking things because it's either going to sound lame or I'm going to sound like I'm trying to stroke myself. But let me at least make the case. Through the league's history, I have 3 podium finishes, a first, a third, and a third. And I've also won the regular season twice, showing up to playoffs at a 66% rate. Now, I'm also commissioner of the league and the one making this list, so if you have a problem with these rankings, step into the group chat with me. Let's take a look at my team. My QB for the season is going to be Justin Herbert, with Nick Chubb as my primary running back, Ramondre Stevenson as the backup. I also have Jamal Williams and Miles Sanders, Antonio Gibson, and Jaylen Warren to back them up. At wide receiver, CeeDee Lamb will be my main starter. Despite how much I hate the Cowboys, I couldn't pass on that opportunity to pick him up. Chris Olave as the backup young wide receiver that I'm hoping has that breakout year that everyone's talking about. Mike Evans and DJ Moore, which I think were great late round values for me in the draft. And then a couple of rookies in Jordan Addison and Jalen Hyatt, with Rashad Bateman thrown in there as kind of my pick-em between the 3 of those Baltimore receivers. One of them's going to hit. Might be him, it might be Flowers, might be OBJ, but we'll see. At number 2 is a guy who you'd never expect by just looking at him or talking to him that he can actually be pretty smart. Well, at fantasy football, I guess. Definitely not at making weed brownies. I'm talking about the chef. George Jefferson, Jeffrey Dahmer. He radiates the mental intelligence of a spud that's been left in the ground for a little bit too long. But when it comes to setting his lineup in these things, he must be pretty good. Because he is the first one on our list who is a real champ, meaning he's taken home 2 of the big dubs in this league. The most recent one being super fresh from last season. Let's see what he has in store for this year to try to pull off a repeat. Going by Tequila Sunrise until we find out in week 4 in that matchup against Henson who's going to keep their tequila title. Chef will be going into the season with Trevor Lawrence as his quarterback. Joe Mixon and Austin Eckler will make up the solid backfield, while DeAndre Hopkins and Devontae Adams will be his starting wide receivers. Mark Andrews, which is one of the top 3 tight ends, has an injury status though for now, so we'll see how that season plays out. In the bench, at least for this week, is Breece Hall, Elijah Mitchell, Brian Robinson, Devin Singletary for his running back room. Tyler Boyd and Gabe Davis, 2 backup-ish wide receivers on good high-producing teams. And then Christian Kirk and Adam Thielen will be his wide receiver room. With his defense as the Miami Dolphins, didn't hear too much about them, so we'll see how their season plays out and how Chef's season plays out. And at number 1 for this year's preseason fantasy league rankings, congratulations, my friend, it's Edwin. Now, recency bias will have you guys believe that this is a stupid pick to put at number 1, but he has 3 podiums and 2 of them are first place finishes. So he has positive regression on his path for this year. Now, let me explain because it might not sound like that makes sense. Positive regression, right? But what it really means is to regress means to go back to your average or to go back to what you used to do. So with him having a down year, that means you guys can expect him to return to his average. He will have an increase on his average productivity in his fantasy team. His history in our league shows that he has a solid process, and we all have some bad years. You know, when the injuries start to pile up and the bullshit happens. So with this being more of a legacy thing, I'm fully comfortable with having him at number 1 for this year. Let's take a look at his team. Starting with Justin Fields at the helm and Aaron Rodgers as his backup or secondary option. Josh Jacobs and Javonte Williams as well as Raheem Mostert will be starting for him in the backfield this week. Isaiah Pacheco is his only other running back on the team, which might be a little bit dangerous with having absolutely zero depth. We'll see if he knows what he's doing on that one. Wide receiver wise, we have Cooper Kupp, which double ouch must hurt because he's a Rams fan and he's on his team, so he has to suffer both. Calvin Ridley is his backup wide receiver, and he has nothing but receivers left on the bench. Nico Collins, Darnell Mooney, Devontae Parker, Deebo Samuel, Marquez Valdez-Scantling. I mean, this guy must have a fucking nightmare setting lineups every week. In the defense, he spent a high pick on the 49ers, which he did in our mock draft as well. It is a wise pick as they're projected to be one of the top scoring defenses. And he has the backup of the Green Bay Packers just in case. So, there we have it, fellas. 1 month of the podcast already down, preseason out of the way. Next week, we can start talking about NFL games, matchups, who got their cheeks clapped. I'm going to start having guests on the show. Any volunteers? In the meantime, let's kick back and watch this exciting first slate of Week 1 games as we set sail onto the season of this year's Fantasy League. I'll see you next week on the podcast. I love you. Bye.